The story that Father Joseph had planned to tell to the South Indian village girls of Poramai on this December 7th, 2024, which is day 7 on the Advent calendar. He had to change in the very last minute due to a sudden and very extraordinary event and breaking news some 10,000 miles away from South India. Father Joseph had wanted to tell them about the annual December 7th burning of a devil event in the faraway country of Guatemala, which signifies the start of Christmas celebrations in Guatemala. This Quema del Diablo, or burning of the devil event, after sunset on December 7th, 2024, however coincided with an volcanic eruption of the Fuego Volcano at 5:30 a.m. on December 7th in Guatemala. So, Father Joseph decided to change his story and include the volcano's activity in his today's story about an equal fire-filled tradition of Guatemala, being the burning of the effigy of the devil. Father Joseph began with a warm smile, his eyes twinkling with the joy of the season. "Today, my dear children," he said, "I will take you on a journey to the colorful and vibrant country of Guatemala, where on December 7th a unique and fascinating Christmas tradition called La Quema del Diablo, or the burning of the devil, takes place." Father Joseph continued, "Guatemala is a country about 17,000 kilometers from Bangalore and just south of Mexico. Guatemala is known for its diverse and breathtaking landscapes. The highlands are dominated by volcanoes, such as Volcán de Agua and Volcán de Fuego, which provide dramatic backdrops to the bustling cities below. Lake Atitlán, often referred to as one of the most beautiful lakes in the world, is surrounded by quaint villages and 3 majestic volcanoes, creating a serene and picturesque setting. The lush rainforests of Petén are home to an incredible array of wildlife and ancient Mayan ruins, adding to the natural beauty of the region. And finally, there is a breathtaking site called Semuc Champey. It is a natural limestone bridge with stepped pools of turquoise water, offering mind-blowing scenery. Guatemalan cuisine is a delicious fusion of indigenous Mayan culture and Spanish flavors. Beautiful and large outdoor markets offer a large variety of vegetables and meats. And street food is very popular among young and old in Guatemala. The most popular foods are pepillo, a spicy meat stew made with tomatoes, chili peppers, and pumpkin seeds, is a favorite dish. Cacique, a traditional turkey soup, is another popular choice, rich with spices and herbs. Street food, such as chuchitos, which is corn dough stuffed with meat, and pupuses, which is stuffed corn tortillas, and offers a tasty and convenient way to experience local flavors. Both India and Guatemala had an ancient civilization, which means thousands of years ago, humans created a very modern and technologically advanced city. This city, however, was lost from memory until archaeologists started discovering them again in the past hundreds of years. The ancient culture of India was called the Indus Valley Civilization, and the ancient culture of Guatemala was called the Maya Civilization. The Maya Civilization started about 4,000 years ago and ended exactly 500 years ago, in 1524, when the Spanish Conquerors invaded Guatemala. But many traditions of the Maya civilization continue until today. The ancient capital of the Maya civilization is called Tikal, and the ruins of the temples and palaces of Tikal still exist today. The Maya civilization also built big pyramids, just like the Egyptians. Unlike the pyramid, which were burial sites for the Egyptian kings or pharaohs, the Mayan pyramids were mainly temples and astrological observatories. When the Spanish conquerors arrived, they built Antigua Guatemala, which was the capital of the Spanish conquerors from where they ruled the land. It was very European in looks, and had many well-preserved Spanish Baroque-influenced architecture and cobblestone streets. Today's capital city is Guatemala City. Over 80% of the Guatemalan population is Christian, and so Christmas and Christmas events are very important to Guatemalans. Their season of Christmas starts on December 7th with a special event called the Burning of the Devil, or locally called Quema del Diablo. More about that in a few minutes. Just like in the South Indian Pongal or Sankranti festivals, the Guatemalans too find it important to clean their houses completely in order to throw away the old stuff or negative energy or evil items, and start the Christmas celebrations and the New Year with new things and a lot of goodness. So, just before December 7th, families and communities will come together to clean their homes and yards. They will gather old and unwanted items and also old clothes, and all of this will be burnt in a big bonfire. Also in the days just before December 7th, communities will create large effigies of the devil, made from paper, cardboard and other materials. These are then placed in public squares and courtyards. A very similar event also takes place in India at the time of the Dussehra festival. Here too effigies of a demon are burned as part of the Vijayadashami event. This event celebrates the victory of good over evil and marks the end of the Navratri festival. The effigies typically represent the demon king Ravana from the epic Ramayana, along with his brother Kumbhakarna. The tradition involves burning of the effigies to symbolize the defeat of evil by Lord Rama. It's a grand spectacle that draws large crowds and is celebrated with much enthusiasm across India. The village girls in Poramai listened intently as Father Joseph told them about the parallel cultures of India and Guatemala, and wondered how these parallel cultures could develop in a similar manner, even though they were 17,000 kilometers apart. Father Joseph's eyes sparkled as he continued. After sunset on December 7th, the effigies of the demon are ignited, and the flames light up the night sky. The burning of the devil represents the triumph of good over evil and the cleansing of the community. The air is filled with the sound of fireworks, music, and laughter as people celebrate together. Father Joseph, they continued, this year the event is even more exciting in many ways. Not only did the Spanish conquer Guatemala exactly 500 years ago in 1524 after Christ, but also this morning at 5:30 a.m. on December 7th, 2024, which was only about 2 hours ago due to the time difference between India and Guatemala. The large volcano called Fuego erupted once again with a fiery red spume. Perhaps it signifies that even the nature wants to get rid of all the evil by letting the volcano ignite on December 7th, 2024. The girls' faces were shocked and astonished at the same time. They asked Father Joseph, is the Christian God so powerful that he can even control volcanoes by making them erupt to cleanse the landscape of all evil? Father Joseph laughed and said, God is powerful, but these are natural tectonic events. Guatemala is a land of active volcanoes, and the frequent activity of these volcanoes does not remove evil from the country. It actually adds evil to the country. After each volcano eruption, the country suffers from a lot of air pollution, which is very bad for breathing and health. Annika said, we have that too. When the farmers burn the leaves or harvest remains, there is also a lot of air pollution, which makes breathing difficult. Aditya then tried to summarize the La Quema del Diablo event. She said, so, this event in Guatemala on December 7th is not only about burning the effigies of demons and other evil or old items. It is a time for families and communities to come together, to reflect on the past year, and to prepare for the joyful season of Christmas. The burning of the devil signifies a fresh start, free from negativity and filled with hope and positivity, just like we do in Pongal and Sankranti. Father Joseph praised her and Aditya flushed. Yes, you saw the parallel between the two cultures and applied it very well. Avani then brought up the question, do the indigenous Guatemalans, which are like our Adivasi, also have many gods and spirits whom they honor? Father Joseph affirmed and said, indeed they do. Mayan spirituality venerates natural phenomena such as rivers, mountains, and caves. Caves are considered sacred passages to the underworld, and many rituals are performed in these locations. The Maya calendar, still in use in parts of Guatemala, is closely tied to the agricultural cycle, with maize or corn being a sacred crop. The Maya pantheon includes a variety of gods and spirits, such as Itzamna, the creator god, Nine Shell, the goddess of childbirth and medicine, and Chark, the rain god. These deities are honored through rituals and offerings. Shriya interrupted, that is so amazing. Even the gods are very similar to the ones we honor in the Hindu religion. How can that be? It seems that Guatemalans and Indians both originate from the same world. Father Joseph tried to respond to this very difficult question. I do not believe that there is a direct association between India and Guatemala. Both countries were conquered by European nations, and so some European culture exists in both countries, like the Christian culture. But that does not explain the parallels of the Mayan and Dravidian cultures. For this, there are other reasons. Both countries have rich and diverse ethnic backgrounds, with Guatemala home to numerous indigenous Mayan communities, and India to a wide array of ethnic groups and languages. This diversity has fostered a vibrant cultural tapestry in both nations, filled with unique traditions, folklore, and rituals. Religion plays a central role in the cultural life of both Guatemala and India. Both countries celebrate numerous religious festivals that involve elaborate rituals, community gatherings, and the use of effigies or bonfires, such as La Quema del Diablo in Guatemala and Dussehra in India. These events emphasize themes of purification, renewal, and the victory of good over evil. The important reason for the parallel society is probably the fact that in the past and also in the present, both countries are agricultural societies. The agricultural parallels between Guatemala and India are fascinating and stem from their rich histories of farming practices, cultural traditions, and their deep connection to the land. Both countries have a long history of subsistence farming, where agriculture is primarily aimed at providing food for the local community rather than for commercial purposes. This method has shaped the rural economies and lifestyles in both regions. Both Guatemala and India boast a wide variety of crops due to their diverse climates and topographies. In Guatemala, maize corn is the staple crop, central to the diet and culture, much like rice and wheat in India. Both countries also grow a variety of fruits, vegetables, and other staple crops like beans, lentils, and spices. Many traditional farming techniques in Guatemala and India are passed down through generations and involve sustainable practices. For instance, terrace farming is used in hilly regions to prevent soil erosion and manage water resources effectively. Both countries also practice crop rotation and intercropping to maintain soil fertility. Agricultural cycles play a significant role in the cultural life of both nations, celebrated through various festivals and rituals. In Guatemala, the Rabanal Ocho dance drama, performed in the highlands, celebrates the maize harvest. The Fiesta de la Candelaria in Coban marks the end of the coffee harvest. In India, Festivals like Pongal in Tamil Nadu and Makar Sankranti across various states celebrate the harvest season. Baisakhi in Punjab marks the harvest of rabi crops. Both Guatemala and India rely heavily on seasonal rainfall for their agricultural productivity. In India, the monsoon season is crucial for the success of the kharif crops, while in Guatemala, the rainy season is essential for crops like maize and coffee. In many rural areas of both countries, traditional tools and animals are still used for plowing, sowing, and harvesting. The use of oxen and handheld tools is a common sight, reflecting a deep-rooted connection to their agricultural heritage. A significant portion of the population in both countries is engaged in agriculture, making it a critical sector for their economies. This reliance on agriculture influences everything from local economies to national policies and international trade. Agriculture is deeply intertwined with spirituality and culture in both Guatemala and India. Many rituals and ceremonies are performed to ensure good harvests, such as offerings to rain gods or fertility deities. In Guatemala, this includes rituals dedicated to Chark, the rain god, while in India, various local deities are worshipped for good harvests. These parallels highlight how agriculture is not just a means of livelihood, but also a cultural and spiritual backbone for both Guatemala and India, reflecting their shared heritage and the universal importance of farming in human societies. Shreya praised Father Joseph. Father Joseph, you are so knowledgeable about the cultural and religious practices, not only of Christians, but also of Hindus. How can you know all of this? Is it all written in the Bible? Father Joseph started laughing about this question. No, Shreya. That is just my interest in books. I like to read about the cultural practices in the many different faiths. All faiths have beautiful and valuable teachings, which includes Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, and so many other smaller religions. There is no such thing as bad religion. Religions teach a way of life. Religions teach a natural traditional way of life. While religious leaders fight among each other about which religion is the only true religion, we are all part of the true religion, which is the religious belief in tradition as a way of life. Our common enemy, with whom we must learn to coexist, is called modernization and urbanization. If we cannot master a coexistence with these two trends, then the traditional way of life will end within the next 50 years. Shreya and all the other girls in the room were shocked by what Father Joseph just told them. She had to admit that she too loved watching Facebook, Instagram and YouTube on her mother's smartphone, and that she too dreamed about a life and a job in the city. But if her dreams were to be fulfilled, then it would be one person less to look after the upkeep of traditional values. She was wondering whether there was a solution to merge modernism and traditionality. Aditya was the first to recover from the shock, and so she asked, "So which beautiful Guatemalan traditions take place after the burning of effigies of the demons has been completed?" Father Joseph shared a beautiful Guatemalan tradition that the village girls found particularly touching. In many Guatemalan homes, Father Joseph said, families gather after the burning to enjoy traditional foods, such as tamales, which are made of masa or corn dough and filled with meats, cheeses, or vegetables, and wrapped in corn husks. They also enjoy ponche, a warm fruit punch made with a variety of fruits, spices, and sugar. Mina then asked which other events take place after the burning of the effigy of the demon. Just like at Pongal, Sankranti or Christmas Eve, in Guatemala families come together to share a meal and enjoy each other's company. It's a time for bonding and celebrating the start of the Christmas season. The women get together in the kitchen and together create the famous tamale dish that is so popular at this event. This traditional Guatemalan dish is served together with chuchitos and ponche de frutas, which is a warm fruit punch. Dancing is also a popular part of the Quema del Diablo tradition. The younger people will engage in modern street dancing. But during the day, the streets will be filled with street performers, again just during many festivals in South India. The main dance performances seen in the streets of Guatemala are the following. The Danza de los Diablos. This dance involves performers dressed as devils, often wearing elaborate masks and costumes. The dancers perform energetic routines that symbolize the struggle between good and evil, and the eventual triumph of good. The Danza de los Moros y Cristianos. This dance reenacts historical battles between the Moors and Christians, featuring colorful costumes and dramatic choreography. It's a blend of indigenous and Spanish influences, highlighting the cultural fusion in Guatemalan traditions. Its origins can be traced back to the medieval battles between the Moors, who were Muslims, and Christians in Spain. And it was introduced to the Americas during the Spanish colonial period. The Baile de la Conquista. This dance narrates the story of the Spanish conquest and the resistance of the indigenous people. It is performed with vibrant costumes and rhythmic movements, reflecting the historical significance and cultural resilience. The marimba performances. The marimba, a traditional Guatemalan instrument, often accompanies the dances. The lively music sets the tone for the festivities and encourages everyone to join in the celebration. The marimba music is very popular both with the elderly but also with the young population. The marimba is a percussion instrument that originated in Africa and developed a distinctive form in Central America, particularly Guatemala. It consists of a series of wooden bars of varying lengths that are struck with mallets to produce musical notes. Below the bars, resonators, typically made of metal or wood, amplify the sound, giving the marimba its rich, warm tone. The marimba is central to traditional Guatemalan music and is often played at festivals, ceremonies, and community events. Also, before, during and after the burning of the effigies, firework displays are very common, adding to the festive spirit and lighting up the night sky. Gracie, a Christian girl living in Poromai, had quietly and very attentively listened to the similarities of the two cultures. Even though one was predominantly Hindu and the other was predominantly Christian. She then addressed Father Joseph with a question that puzzled her a lot. Father Joseph, I simply do not understand why the Guatemalan burn the El Diablo and why the Hindus burn the demon King Ravana. We, as Christians, have all learnt that if we are good, we will go to God in heaven, but if we are very sinful, we will go to hell to where the devil lives. And we have been told that hell is a place of big fires. So the devil must love the fire and the heat, since he keeps so many fires burning in his home. Why would the Guatemalan Christians and the Hindus burn the devils, if the devils love fire? Even Hindus consider fire spiritual, as they cremate their dead ones in the fire. Would it not make more sense to freeze the demons in an ice block and bury them in the Arctic? Father Joseph looked at her with big eyes of astonishment, and even all the other people in the room were taken aback by this logic. Gracie, this is a very good question, which I really cannot answer you. Perhaps it can be called human logic, or better said, failure of logic. If humans believe something is bad for them, then it must also be bad for devils. So since humans do not like to be burned alive, they think that devils and demons also do not like to be burned alive. But you are right, Gracie. It makes no sense. Father Joseph then, while continuing to ponder about this interesting question, addressed the girls once more and said, like in Poramai at Christmas, the elderly of Guatemala will also relate stories about ancient traditions in Guatemala during Christmas festive season. Let me relate to you one ancient story that I read about and that I thought was very beautiful. It actually reminds me of the Maori tribe and their Pohutukawa tree that I told you about on day 2 of the Advent calendar. The Guatemalan story is called The Tale of the Sacred Saber Tree. Long ago, in the heart of Guatemala, there was a small village nestled between lush green hills and dense forests. This village was blessed with the presence of a magnificent saber tree, which stood tall and proud in the village square. The saber tree was considered sacred by the villagers, who believed it was the dwelling place of spirits and a bridge between the heavens, earth, and the underworld. It was their tree of life. The tree is a symbol of strength, longevity, and resilience. Among the Maya, known as the Yaxche, the saber tree, which can reach heights of 70 meters, was seen as a representation of the universe. It played a central role in their cosmology and was often depicted in Mayan art and mythology. The elders would gather the children under the shade of the saber tree and recount the tales of their ancestors. One of the favorite stories was about a time when the village faced a severe drought. The rivers had dried up, and the crops wilted under the scorching sun. The villagers were desperate and turned to the saber tree for guidance. One day, an elderly woman named Abuela Maritza, known for her wisdom and deep connection with the spirits, approached the tree. She placed her hand on its rough bark and whispered a prayer, asking for rain to save her people. That night, Abuela Maritza had a vivid dream in which the spirit of the saber tree spoke to her. To bring the rain, the spirit said, the village must perform a sacred ritual at the base of the tree. Offer your most cherished possessions, and dance through the night to honor the gods. The next day, Abuela Maritza shared her dream with the villagers. They gathered around the saber tree, bringing their most treasured items, handmade pottery, woven garments, and family heirlooms. They placed these offerings at the tree's roots and began to dance, their movements synchronized with the beating of drums and the chanting of prayers. As the villagers danced, clouds began to gather in the sky. The rhythm of the drums grew louder, and the chants more fervent. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck the saber tree, illuminating the village in a brilliant flash. The heavens opened, and rain poured down, drenching the parched earth and reviving the crops. The villagers rejoiced, their faith in the sacred saber tree reaffirmed. They continued to honor the tree with annual rituals, passing down the story through generations. Even today, during La Quema del Diablo, elders like Abuela Maritza's descendants share this tale, reminding the young ones of the power of faith, unity, and respect for nature. Father Joseph's voice took on a thoughtful tone as he concluded the story. As we celebrate Christmas, Pongal and Sankranti here in Poramai, he said, let us remember the spirit of La Quema del Diablo. Let us cleanse our hearts and minds of negativity, embrace hope and positivity, and come together as a community. Whether we are Christian, Hindu, or of any other faith, the values of renewal, unity, and joy unite us all. This Christmas, let us spread joy and make our village a place of warmth and love. The girls nodded, their hearts filled with the beautiful message of the story. They felt a connection to the traditional village girls of Guatemala, despite the distance and cultural differences. The celebration of La Quema del Diablo had taught them the universal language of renewal and community spirit. As the evening drew to a close, the girls thanked Father Joseph and the Christian community for sharing this enchanting story. They left St. Mary's Church with smiles on their faces and a newfound appreciation for the magic of Christmas. And so, in the village of Poromai, the spirit of La Quema del Diablo lived on, inspiring acts of renewal and spreading joy among all its residents, regardless of their faith or background.